Okay, so we're here in Autodesk Inventor 2016, so we're going to go ahead and create a new part as usual. So we click the drop down, we click Part, and we create our new sketch. So we click Sketch, we're going to choose the XZ plane. Now we're inside of Sketch 1 as demonstrated in the browser bar, and we're going to go ahead and try to use the a couple of these additional tools, the pattern and modify here. So let's go ahead and use the pattern. So we're going to go ahead and make a rectangle. Notice that we're going to go ahead and dimension it, and in this case we're just going to make it a 1 by 1 square. Remember that if it disappears on you, always click the zoom all. Okay, and let's say that I make it 2 inches. Oops, I wanted a 1 inch square, so I can go back in. I can actually click OK. I can go ahead, if I wanted to go ahead and delete that dimension, I could click on it and then click the delete key. I could also, if I had a dimension I didn't want, I could also right-click on it when I'm outside of the dimensioning tool. So notice that I have to exit the dimensioning tool first by right-clicking, click OK. Then I can right-click on that dimension and click delete. Okay. So remember, you can't delete a dimension when you're inside the dimensioning tool, just for future reference. Okay. So we have this 1 by 1 square. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and make a pattern. So the thing that you're going to notice in Inventor is sometimes you need lines that aren't really involved in your shape. Now I could use the lines that are part of the square, but for our purposes we're going to go ahead and use lines outside of the square, just for reference. Okay, so we go ahead and click the pattern tool. And notice that the first thing I have to select, if you look at this dialog that comes up, the red arrows are things that you still need to select. So that's how Inventor tells you what you need to select. So first we're going to select the geometry. And geometry just means the shape that we want to pattern. So I can select any line that I want to pattern, okay, include in my pattern, like something that's going to be repeated. Then I'm going to choose my direction. Okay, so I can choose any line, that'll be the direction that it is. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to choose the line at the top. Okay, and notice I get an arrow here. And I'm going to choose direction 2, and notice I get an arrow there, right? So at this point, I have 2 squares, right, in my pattern, 2 squares across and 2 squares down, and then this bottom part is the distance between those squares. Okay, so I go ahead and click OK. Click zoom all. Okay, and there is my pattern. Notice that now the pattern is locked. So if I go ahead and change this, let's say that I change, the dimension on 1 square. Notice that that's every other square in that pattern changes as well. So you can notice that inside the pattern is maintained inside the drawing. So it's not like it just copies at one time. It actually is linked inside the drawing. Okay, so that was the rectangular pattern. Let's go ahead and I'm going to create another shape. I'm going to use the hand here and just move the canvas up to create my shape. Let's say this time I want to make a circle. Okay, and this could be any shape, of course, and I'm going to make that circle 1 inch. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put a line through the circle. Right-click OK, and I'm actually going to trim off part of the circle. Okay, so I have a circle that's been trimmed in half. So a lot of times with the mirroring image, you might have a complex shape that you just want, it takes a long time to make half the shape, and it's identical on the other side. So that's where mirroring comes in. So we go ahead and we're going to select the shape we want to mirror, and then the mirror line. And we click Apply. And notice that we get an identical version of that shape on the other side of the mirrored line. All right? And I can actually trim out that mirrored line to make it more usable in some things. Okay, so those are the 2D patterns. We can also do a circular pattern. So say that I choose that shape. We can choose the axis. Let's say, oops, that's not going to let us do it. Let's say if we have a line out here, Usually when these patterns or other things, you need to have a separate line that will act as your axis. And the circular pattern actually might take a circular axis. So. Oh, I do need another circle. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make a circle to act as our axis. I'm going to go ahead and delete that line. So we're going to go ahead and select the geometry, we're going to select the axis, and now notice that we get that 6 of those around that axis. So notice that on our circle now, we can actually see there that we have 6 of those circles around the circular axis. Okay, so those are the patterning tools, so go ahead and give it a shot in Inventor. Good luck. Use all 3 patterning tools and give it a try.